StraighTAllDay.com.
Some myths about entrepreneurship that must be dispelled. I'll take it upon myself to clarify what these are, as I am and have been a full-time entrepreneur for some time. And because I have the ability to explain these things and explain to you what the myth is, why people believe this myth, and what the actual truth is. So we'll clarify everything here, in one shot. So interesting thing that I see online. I've seen this many times, and I was thus surprised that I have never done an episode on this concept. But a lot of people have some very warped ideas of what it takes to be an entrepreneur, even though they have never actually been an entrepreneur. So some people have these ideas that are not good about what entrepreneurship is, that are not true even about what entrepreneurship is, or what it takes to be one, or the requirements, or how it works, et cetera, even though they have no experience whatsoever. So people just have these ideas in their head about things they never actually lived. And entrepreneurship is just one subject upon which people have these bad ideas. But this is the one we're going to address here today. And you have people who have actually been entrepreneurs who have supplied these terrible ideas into these people who now think they know something, even though they've never actually done the thing. I've told you all many times, you don't know something until you've actually done it. You don't really know it until you can teach it. You don't truly know it until you can charge money to teach it. Now, I understand why this is happening, because people who have actually done the thing, who don't have the ability to articulate or explain nuance, tend to think that whatever they personally have experienced in a space must be the experience that everyone in that space goes through. So someone who played a sport, for example, may say, well, this is what happened when I played the sport. And maybe they know 3 other people who experienced the same thing. So then they go and falsely assume that everybody who plays a sport goes through that example, but you only have this small sample size of these people. Even if your sample size is not super big, do you have the ability to logically look at it and say, is this something that everyone would have to go through? Or is it just so happens that coincidentally, me and the 3 people I know all experience the same thing? Doesn't mean that everybody else experiences it. You can go off a small sample size and still have that belief. I can say, hey, I know 20 people and all of us breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide. And I can logically figure out, is that something that every human does? Or is it just me and the 20 people that I know who fit that description? Now, not everybody has the ability to think on that level of logic. And this is why we get the nonsense. So understand why stuff like this happens. People tend to think that their myopic experience of life is a reflection of all of life, and everybody else must go through the same thing just because they went through it. That is false. So today I'm going to help all of you, including myself. Well, I already know this stuff, but I'm going to help all of you break down the nonsense. Point number 1. Today's topic, once again, is entrepreneurial myths. Entrepreneur myth number 1. And these could somewhat be in particular order, but not necessarily. Number 1 is that you have to work 60 hours a week when you're an entrepreneur. This is a myth. Now, are there entrepreneurs out there who do work 60 hours a week? Yes. Are there times when I work 60 hours a week? Yes. Is an entrepreneur who's working 60 hours a week probably going to get more things done production-wise than someone who's working only 40 hours a week? In certain cases, yes. When you're first starting, would it probably be advantageous for you to work 60 hours a week as opposed to 40 or 50 hours a week, because you probably got a lot of shit you need to do, and it just takes sweat equity to get it done, as opposed to letting a system work for you, because you might not even have one yet because you just got started. So is the 60 hours advantageous in certain situations for certain entrepreneurs in certain places and in certain industries? The answers are yes, yes, and yes. At the same time, this is still one of the most diabolical hustle culture's ideas that a lot of people believe about entrepreneurship that don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. And I'm going to explain to you why this is a diabolical bad idea about entrepreneurship. It comes from people who believe the lie that more hours equates to more success. See, that's where the lie comes from. That's the reason why this is a myth. The myth about the 60-hour entrepreneur week is not that when you're first starting out, you got to put a lot of time in to get the business working. There are some entrepreneurs who will tell you that. And in certain aspects, this can be true, but that's not the reason people believe it. People buy into the idea that as an entrepreneur, you need to work 60 hours a week, not because it's to get the business off the ground and get it started, et cetera. So that's not the reason why people believe it. People believe it based on the false idea that the more time you spend working, the more success you will have. Therefore, if you don't have the success you want, the only thing between you and your desired success is more effort. That is false. That is not true. Now, there are sometimes, Again, there are some times where it is true. Putting in more time will create more success because you simply just need to do more of the thing that you're doing. Sometimes you just need to run faster on the treadmill. Sometimes that is the case. There are other times when running faster on the treadmill is not the case. Therefore, to say that it is a truth that working 60 hours, metaphorically, or the proverbial 60 hours a week is the key to being an entrepreneur, that makes it false because it is not always true and it depends. It is based on a case-by-case basis. And what's crazy is when people who are not entrepreneurs say it, is if they know what they're talking about. And then some entrepreneur comes in and says, well, I'm an entrepreneur. And when I started my business, I had to work 60 hours a week. Or I started 6 businesses. And each one, I had to work 60 hours a week to start the business. And motherfucker, that don't mean that it's true for everybody. That's just you. And your 6 businesses, allegedly, in which you work 60 hours a week. Now, that is not necessarily what you have to do to get a business off the ground, work 60 hours a week. Because there are many businesses to where putting in more effort just for the sake of effort is not the key to making the business work. Sometimes the key to making the business work is having the right strategy, the right plan, the right resources, the right people, and the right approach. Putting in more time doesn't change any of those issues. And it doesn't fix any of those if they're a problem. But a lot of people will have you believe that this must be the formula because they heard somebody say it. Then you get somebody who did that and it worked for them, co-signing it. And now everybody thinks that's what they got to do. Not true. That's why it's a false idea. It's a myth. Activity is not the same as effectiveness. Activity is not the same as effectiveness. When you are an entrepreneur, you are not paid by the hour. Entrepreneurs are not paid by the hour. You are paid by execution and you are paid by outcome, not hours. So if you're working 60 hours a week, your 60 hours a week at some point should come to an end because you have the pieces in place, the systems and the strategies in place to where more effort is not necessarily needed for more results. And your 60 hours a week should be built towards reducing your 60 hours a week. That's the whole point of working that many hours if you're even doing it. So when you're an entrepreneur, again, since you're not paid by the hour, the best entrepreneurs build systems. We just talked about this a couple days ago. And the systems do the heavy lifting. It is not just you working yourself into burnout mode and grinding yourself into the ground just to say that you're working 60 hours a week as if it's some fucking badge of honor, which is the way a lot of people talk about it. And again, I'm not against working 60 hours a week if it makes sense, but not just to say that you did it and not just because you have to, quote unquote, because you're an entrepreneur. Now, when you're in the process of building your system, and doing the work that can create that system, will there be a 60-hour week somewhere in there? Maybe. There might be. And should you do it if you need to? Yes, you should if you're building a business. That does not mean that every entrepreneur has to do the same thing that you or I did, nor does it mean that you should still be working 60 hours a week 20 years from now. That's probably a reflection of your mindset and your lack of leverage and lack of structural systemization more than it is a reflection of how entrepreneurship works. If you feel like, or you look like you had to work 60 hours a week to run a business or even to start a business. You only have to work 60 hours a week to start a business. Again, it depends on what the business is, what you're doing, how you're doing it, who you're serving, how you serve them, what pieces do you have in place, what pieces do you need, do you even know what you're doing? All of those can determine whether or not you need to work more hours or less hours. But there's no set thing that says you have to work this many hours when you're an entrepreneur. And a lot of people with no entrepreneurial experience tend to think that this is true. That's bullshit. It's not true. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is entrepreneurial myths. Number 2, you need credit and capital and an LLC and a website. And if you have none of those, you can't start your business and all the other bullshit that people think that they need. This is obviously a myth. You know this because today's topic is entrepreneurial myths. All of these are myths. Every single thing I just mentioned, you don't need any of these to start a business. You do not need credit to start a business. If you have credit, great, because you can buy things with credit, but you don't need credit to start a business. Why? Because you can start a business without buying anything. You can start a business with no money whatsoever, and you can be profitable by the end of the day, today, with no money out of your pocket. Yes, it is possible. I'll give you examples. You don't need capital to start a business. Credit is a form of capital. Capital just means financial resources that you can use to get things. So capital can be just straight up cash. It can be a line of credit. It can be a credit card. All of these are forms of capital. You do not need capital to start a business. You don't need a business loan for $10,000 to start a business. What are you doing with that $10,000? You don't need $10,000 to start a business. You don't need $10 to start a business. This is Kamala Harris in 2024 saying that she's going to give every business owner $25,000 grants to start their business. And then she was saying, well, you can't start a business with $5,000. I'm going to give you $25,000. Like, Kamala, what the hell are you talking about? What business have you started? None. She doesn't know shit about business. But she's up on stage saying, well, you can't start a business with $5,000. You need $25,000. No, you don't. You don't need anything in terms of money to start a fucking business. And then there were people in the crowd cheering because I guess they just wanted the $25,000 and or they were just Kamala supporters. So they were going to co-sign any stupid shit that she said. I think that was probably the case. But she was 100% wrong. She doesn't know what she's talking about. And anybody else saying this doesn't know what they're talking about. People tell you need an LLC to start a business. Now, can an LLC help you when starting a business? Maybe, depending on what you're trying to do. You want to get a business line of credit or you want to get a business credit card, then you need a business. An LLC is a business entity. Through that LLC, you can get a business credit card. Now you have a business credit card with a $20,000 limit. Now you can use that $20,000 to go buy stuff, whatever it is that you want. But do you need this? No, you don't. Do you need a website to start a business? No. You can have a website. I got a bunch of websites. I got a bunch of domain names. Do you need them to start a website? No, you don't need a single website to start a business. All of these are excuses for procrastination and they are disguised as planning. Excuses disguised as planning, aided by the nonsense that entrepreneurs have been told by a lot of, wannabe entrepreneurs have been told by actual entrepreneurs. Now, I know why some entrepreneurs tell other people this, that you need credit, capital, LLC, website. Why? Because they're trying to sell you some package that gives you all of those things. So they're making you believe you need them. Therefore, if you don't have them, you can't run your business. And guess who happens to sell them? Oh, I happen to sell them. Buy it from me and I'll help you with this. I understand it. And entrepreneurs out there selling this, I see you. All right, I see you. I'm calling you out and I'm calling you on your bullshit. Stop selling people these lies. And again, doesn't mean that credit, capital, LLCs, and websites are not good. I have all four. Okay? I have all four of these, but I didn't need any one of them to start my business. And when I started my business, I had none of them, just to be clear. This is procrastination disguised as planning. A lot of people go online, and again, they see people talking about these things. Credit, capital, LLCs, they think they need all these things. They see websites, they think they need all this stuff so they can start, and they can't do anything until they have them. This cannot be further from the truth. Let's be clear what business is, folks. Business is, what is a business? It's an entity that engages in commerce. What is commerce? It's an exchange of money for products and services. That's it. That's what a business is. A business is an entity that engages in commerce, exchanges money for products and services. What is business itself? It is the exchange itself. Usually on one end, it's money. On the other end, it's some type of product or service. That's all business is. Therefore, to be in business is only one thing that you need. Does anybody know the answer? I'm waiting for the class to give me an answer. What is the one thing that you need if you want to be in business? There is only one thing you need. Knowing the definition that I just gave you. Business is the engagement in commerce, which is the exchange of money for products and services. The only thing you need is a fucking customer. That's it. When you have a customer, that is a person willing to give you their money in exchange for your products and or your services, you are officially doing business. Do you need a website to do that? No. Do you need an LLC to do that? No. Do you need a line of credit to do that? No. Do you need capital to do that? No. You don't need any of these things. You don't need a building. You don't need a grant from the government. All you need is a person willing to give you money in exchange for whatever it is that you're offering. And you may say, well, Dre, how are they going to know what I have if I don't have a website? Well, you can go knock on your neighbor's door and say, hey, you have a lawn. I got a lawnmower. I'll cut your grass for $50 every week. Give me $50. I'll cut your grass right now. They say yes. You have a customer. You are officially in business. Done. Do you need an LLC for that? Do you need a website? Do you need a line of credit? Do you need a credit card? Do you need anything? All you needed was a customer. Everybody understand this? So as soon as you have somebody willing to give you money in exchange for your solution to their problem, whatever that may be, you are in business. So what you actually need to do, to start a business is you need to identify a problem that somebody has, give them an offer to solve that problem, and then give them a way to pay you to solve the problem. And then you ask for the fucking money. As soon as they give it to you, you're in business. Hi, neighbor, you have a lawn. I'll cut it for $50. Give me $50. I'll cut the lawn. And they say, okay. They give you the $50. Boom. You're officially an entrepreneur. You're in. Congratulations. Welcome. And I'm not being facetious here. This is how it works. That's it. That's all. Everything else, credit, capital, LLCs, websites, those can come later. Many people delay action by convincing themselves or getting convinced by some idiot or some entrepreneur who's trying to sell you something that you need all these other things in place before you actually start doing stuff. This is a false, useless piece of information that has been peddled to the masses of people. I see this a lot from black people. White people, y'all probably get it too, but I see it a lot with black people more than others. Maybe just because I'm black, I just happen to notice this stuff more often. But I hear this often from black entrepreneurs, and I do know why, but I don't know why. There are a lot of black people who are successful entrepreneurs who have programs and courses designed around teaching people how to get all this infrastructure in place and frame it as if you need these things to have a business. They are nice to haves. They are not necessities. There's a big difference. Then their fans listen to it and think that I don't have these things. Then I'm walking around, I can't do business, and I'm walking around with these false beliefs. You walking around with these false beliefs based on bullshit is what happens. I apologize to you on behalf of these black people who are selling you this bad information. And I know why they're doing it. Again, they make money by doing this. I'm not knocking their hustle. I'm just calling out the bullshit of their hustle. And maybe that's knocking it. Okay. I guess I'm knocking their hustle. All right. Some bullshit. I'm trying to help you all get started with as little procrastination as possible. That's my aim. Now, if I happen to knock your bullshit in the process, well, so be it. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is entrepreneurial myths. Myth number 3. Entrepreneurship is all about freedom. Not really. Some people start businesses because they don't want to work 40 or 50 hours a week at a job that they hate, or because they're working at a job for a boss that they don't like, or they're working at a place that they see as a dead-end career. So they start a business and they work those same hours, just now they're working for themselves. So instead of having a boss, they're the boss. And they're completely happy with that. Now, many entrepreneurs start their businesses for that reason, to create the freedom of time, freedom of space, freedom of movement, freedom of saying what I want to say, whatever it may be, whatever kind of freedom you want. Entrepreneurship, financial freedom also, entrepreneurship is really more about responsibility than it is about freedom. Yes, you may start for freedom, but the real thing entrepreneurship is responsibility. Because as soon as you quit your job as an architect and you become your own independent architect, now you're responsible for everything. Whereas before you were just responsible for doing architectural work. Now you got to do everything else. As soon as you become an entrepreneur, you take on a ton more responsibility than you had as an employee. That's what the game is about. You get freedom in your business after you take on a ton of responsibility and build structure, revenue, and you produce results. Early on, you don't just walk away from your system most of the time. At first, you are the system. All right, your business starts out with you as the system. Then you do work to replace yourself so that the machine, i.e. the system, is doing most of the work, and you can still maintain ownership, which means you're collecting money without having to do all the work yourself. Eventually, you want to get to that point where there is some money being made without you having to do every single piece of work. For example, and again, this doesn't have to be every single aspect of your business. For example, just last night, somebody went on my basketball training programs website, which I still have. It's called hoophandbook.com. And they bought a total package of all these programs that I had. I bundled them up into one package, and somebody bought the package just last night. I saw it in my merchant report this morning. Now, I don't know this person. I have not dribbled a basketball in years, so I didn't do any drills to demonstrate to this person. The drills are already done. They're posted on YouTube. I did not give them the link. I have no idea who this person is, may never meet this individual, and didn't have a conversation with them before they bought the product. But they went on my site, paid for the product, bought the product, got delivered the product, and I may never had to engage with this person, but I made money off it because I have a system in place that sold that product for me. So again, it can be a simple thing such as that. It can be something much more complex like Walmart or Amazon. But at first, you're the system. I'll juxtapose what I just told you with the first sales that I made on that exact same training program site 15 years ago. Somebody bought from me. I didn't have auto delivery set up, meaning if you bought from me, I had to manually send you what you paid for. I don't have that problem anymore. People were emailing me like, yo, I just bought one of your programs an hour ago. Can I get the program? I had to manually send them an email back with the attachment of the program in it. And I had to do that for several orders before I realized or thought to myself, there has to be an easier way. That's when I started putting systems in place to make this work a little bit better. And here we are. And again, this is a basic system, but you can have much more complex systems. Coca-Cola, for example, has a formula for their soda. They got a way that they bottle up the soda. They got the glass bottles, they got the cans, they got the plastic bottles. They have boxes that they put it in. They ship it to different places all around the world through their distribution centers. They have to check on orders. They got to make sure stuff gets to certain places at certain times. They got to collect money from the people who are buying from them. They got to take returns from people. They got to go charge people stuff. They got to call people who haven't paid their bills. They got to maintain the brand. They got to manage their advertising, manage their marketing, manage their sales, manage their entire staff. They got to manage a whole lot of things. Their system is much more complex than my selling basketball training programs, but they are both systems nonetheless. And when you're running a business, the main thing you're doing is taking on the responsibility of getting that system in place, or those systems. A company like Coca-Cola, they have multiple systems all intertwined working together. Your job is getting all that stuff in place. So you want to get all that stuff in place so that you can make some money without having to do all the work forever on your own. Main reason most people start a business in the first place is so they can make the money and not have to do all the work. Hopefully I can get the money without all the work. And I'll take on the ownership and the responsibility as a trade-off of getting the money without the work. That's the equation. A lot of people who run businesses never actually get around to doing this stuff because they treat the means as the ends. That's when, okay, I'm gonna do all the work and just be my own boss, but they never think about, okay, how can I get to the point where I am the boss, but I'm not doing all the work? A lot of people just never ask themselves that question. And even when they do, they don't know how to answer it. Good news is you come across somebody like me, where I have Work on Your Game University, where I will help you put the systems in place and we will take care of that problem. That problem is very solvable. If you treat the means as the ends, then you'll just keep working because you may think that's what you're supposed to do, nothing else to do. Those of you who are entrepreneurs like right now, let me remind you of what I just said in this third point. All right, if you are not inside the university yet, get inside so we can get to work on this stuff, putting systems in place so that you can replace yourself in your business. Again, you may not replace yourself 100% forever. I mean, I still record episodes of this show until my son gets old enough that he could do the recording. Maybe he'll take over for me in several years from now. But for now, I'll record episodes of this show. This is part of my business. You may not get to the point where you're not doing anything. I could technically I could stop doing the show if I wanted to. I don't want to. But you want to systematize certain things so that you can have results coming in without you having to do all the work. That's the whole point. That's it, folks. Let's recap today's class, which is entrepreneur myths, some bad beliefs that people have about entrepreneurship that they picked up from people who are trying to sell you on bad ideas so that they keep you tethered to whatever it is that they're offering. But I'm knocking down the nonsense. Number one, you have to work 60 hours a week. Are there some entrepreneurs who work 60 hours a week? Yes. Are there times where I work 60 hours a week? Yes. Does that mean every entrepreneur, just because you're an entrepreneur, you have to work 60 hours a week? No, you do not. Number two, you need credit, capital, LLCs, and websites to start a business. You need none of those. What you need is a customer. That's a person willing to give their money in exchange for your product or service. You have that, you're in business. You don't need any of those other things. You can get them. It's nice to have them. They are useful if and when you do have them, but you don't need any one of them to start a business. Number three, entrepreneurship is all about freedom. Some people start businesses because they don't want to be working 40 or 50 hours a week at a job that they hate. And they just want the freedom of saying what they want to say, going and coming as they wish. Some want the time freedom. Some want the money freedom. Some just want to be able to do what they want to do their thing without having to listen to their boss. So they'll do the exact same work. They'll just do it with themselves as the boss. Entrepreneurship is about responsibility first. Freedom comes second. You can get freedom from being an entrepreneur, but it starts with responsibility. You take on the responsibility, then you make yourself eligible for the freedom. All that said, you want to step your entrepreneurial game up, step up your presence, step up your discipline, your performance, your confidence, and the energy that comes with all of that, that leads to you taking the actions that lead to setting up your business to get the freedom with the responsibility that you want. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Have me as your direct coach. Work on your game. Dre all day.